David Raskin is preparing a presentation video for his project along with his sister, Christina, and his childhood friend, Adam and Quinn, in order to secure his admission to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He presents a drone he built that can be controlled with the motion of his fingers when the drone is connected to the internet. The first few attempts at making the video are almost a disaster, but all of them get a hang of it. David tries to take the drone to a much higher altitude, but he loses the connection to the drone and it comes crashing down. David receives a letter from MIT and he is hoping to get in. He invites his mother and his friends to witness this moment with him. He opens the letter only to find that he has actually got in. Everyone is delighted for him, but David finds out that he has only gotten a financial aid of $5,000, meaning that in order to get in, he would have to pay the rest $40,000 himself. David is upset and the rest of his friends still encourage him to go to college. When he returns home from school, he finds out that his mother has put their house up for sale. David argues with his mother that she shouldn't have done it, and he could have gotten a job to pay the dues to college. His mother tells him that he is as intelligent as his father was, and that she can't let all of his efforts and potential go to waste. David believes that none of this would have happened if his father were still alive today. David is up in his attic and his sister comes and joins him. David is figuring out ways to get more scholarships. Christina finds an old video camera that both she and David aren't aware of. They connect the video camera with their laptop and find old footage of David's 7th birthday party. While watching the footage, David finds his current self in the old footage. Amazed by this phenomenon, he calls his friends and Christina to come and look at it. All of them are surprised, but Christina says that it can be someone from the family that looks just like David. But David shows that he's currently wearing the same shirt as he is in the footage. During school, David and his friends are still going over the video. David finds out that he accidentally switched bags with one of his classmates, Jessie. At first, Jessie is a bit mad that David went through her stuff in the bag, but later on, congratulates him on getting into MIT. Back at home, they try to figure out what exactly was David doing in the videotape. They analyze his position in the footage, and it appears as if David was reaching out to something. When David puts himself in the same position he was in the footage, it is observed that he was reaching out to the basement's light switch. All of them head towards the basement, and after turning on the lights, they find a lot of David's father's stuff. Christina reminds David that they aren't allowed to go in there, but David insists on going inside. When Quinn starts to play with the light switch, all of them begin to hear a flickering sound. They find a trapdoor and inside it, they find a case. They open the case to find a mysterious device under the name of an uncompleted project, Project Almanac, which happens to be a project of DARPA, an agency that has worked on various high-end technological devices. After going through various documents, they find out that the machine is a prototype of temporal relocation. After Christina inquires what exactly that is, David responds that it's a prototype that would allow you to time travel. All of them encourage David to complete the machine, as they believe that his father may have left it for him to finish it. They gather all of the necessary equipment to fire up the machine. After spending a lot of time on it, they go along with the initial testing. The machine begins to create electromagnetic energy around it and also fuses a few things together. After the machine stops working, David tells Christina to film everything. They utilize more equipment, including an Xbox, to provide the time machine with more power. They also develop computer programs that would allow them to control the time machine. During another test to power up the machine, David stains his shirt. The stain is the exact same as the one David has in his birthday party footage, indicating that they are close to finishing up the project. Adam says that the machine needs hydrogen, which would provide the machine with fusion, which in turn will work. The group goes to their school at night with the plan of stealing hydrogen from the laboratory. After stealing hydrogen, they go back and fix the machine. They first plan on sending a toy car, with a camera and a stopwatch attached to it, back 2 hours in time. They also plan on monitoring how much time in the past would equate to the time in the present. After another test, they fail to power and start the time machine. David concludes that instead of hydrogen, the machine requires nickel metal hydride. A party is going on nearby, and Jessie arrives in her electric car. David tricks her by letting her park her car in his driveway. They attach the machine to the battery of her car. This time the machine powers up with more energy, and before it could do anything, Jessie appears and is baffled to see what's actually going on. After a power outage, the group surprisingly finds the toy car fused to a wall. They check the camera attached to it, and it did indeed go back in time. During school, David is working out different ways to fit the machine in his backpack, while Quinn fails his chemistry test. Jessie joins the group and asks them what they plan on doing with it next. She proposes that they should all go back in time, since the machine was created with an intention of sending a living organism back in time. David notices her car's keychain and finds out that he is holding that keychain in the old footage. The group plans on using the machine on themselves that night, although they all appear hesitant because it could potentially explode them up. They set up a camera nearby in order to record the footage of the environment. David fires up the machine and a huge electromagnetic force surrounds them. All of them are scattered by it, and to find out if they are actually back in time, Quinn decides to take them to his house. They find yesterday's Quinn sleeping. The group is in shock that they have actually traveled back in time. As the past Quinn wakes up and sees the present Quinn, both of them go into a feedback loop. The group leaves immediately. The group returns to the present and a dog that followed them also takes off with. They find missing dog posters of that dog because it traveled to the next day. This indicates that they can change reality. Knowing what the machine can do, David makes some rules. He informs them no one is allowed to travel alone. They would have to film every travel so that if something goes wrong, they could film it, and it would be kept a secret. David also lets them know that the machine can only take them back 3 weeks. The first thing they do is that they travel back in time to help Quinn in passing his chemistry test. Quinn fails every time, but after various attempts, he is able to pass the test. Christina asks to stand up to her bully at school, Sarah Nathan. They travel back in time so that she could get even with her. The group goes back in time in order to see the winning number of a lottery ticket, which the group successfully does. They miss out on just one winning number, and the group gets a staggering amount of $1.8 million. The group shares the money, and David hands out his remaining share after paying his college dues to his mother, to which she reacts emotionally. Quinn uses his money to buy a luxurious car. Christina uses her money to buy fancy clothes and accessories. David orders another powerful battery for the machine. During this time, David and Jesse get close to each other. David tells her that his father died in a car crash on his 7th birthday. Quinn brings various food trucks to his school in order to get more popular. One day, the group decides to flunk school and David surprises them by taking them to the Lollapalooza festival. The group has a great time together. David has also bought VIP access to the show and also surprises Jesse when one of the show's musical performers dedicates her a song. During the festival, David and Jesse bond more, and when both of them try to get close to each other, David backs out of it. Adam also makes out with Christina. All of them are a bit upset with David, as he should have gotten along with Jesse because she was into him. The group returns home after having a great time together. David watches the video footage of him and Jesse and wonders that if he had made the move, then Jesse would have been with him. David goes back to the Lollapalooza festival once again, this time completely alone, and makes out with Jesse. When he returns back to the present, he finds Jesse in his room, indicating that they both are together now as a couple. They both get intimate with each other, and David is really enjoying his new life. When David reaches school, he finds something weird going on. Adam calls the group and asks them to come over as soon as possible. The group hears a piece of news about a plane crash, and Adam believes that it's their fault. Upon asking how, he explains that the first time they used the time machine which resulted in a blackout, a schoolfellow at a party nearby broke his leg in a car accident. He was Sarah Nathan's brother and captain of the basketball team. The team didn't make the playoffs, which led to no one attending the game, even the players' parents. Sarah Nathan's father was the pilot who was flying the plane that crashed and also died in the process. Adam believes that none of this would have happened if they hadn't used the time machine, and Sarah's father would have attended the game rather than flying a plane. Knowing that he could lose Jesse, David doesn't believe that it's their fault that caused this humongous damage, while the rest tell him that they should go back in time and stop this from happening. David calls Adam and tells him that he actually went back to the Lollapalooza festival in order to win Jesse. Adam is shocked to hear that David broke the rule of not traveling alone. David goes back in time again and saves Sarah's brother from the car accident. When he returns, he finds that everything's alright, including his relationship with Jesse. Christina takes David to the hospital, where he learns that Adam was hospitalized after a car accident. A distraught David goes back home and figures out all of the timeline sequences to know where everything went wrong. Before he could go back and stop Adam's accident, Jesse appears and is also teleported back to the past. Jesse learns that David has been traveling all alone and everything went wrong when he jumped back to the festival to win her affection. Jesse breaks down crying and says that David should have asked her out rather than trick her into this relationship. She also lets him know that she loved David even before they knew each other properly. Just as David is about to handle the situation, Jesse of the past arrives, and both Jesses enter a feedback loop that wipes out her existence from the timeline. David rushes to the basement and finds no hydrogen that could be used to travel back. Quinn appears the next morning and David explains everything to him. David tells him that he is going to travel all the way back to stop everything from happening. The police arrive and they are searching for David, as he is suspected of the disappearance of Jesse. The police chase him and David rushes to school. He finds hydrogen and uses it to travel back to the past just in time. He wakes up and goes to his house, where a 7-year-old David is celebrating his birthday. David goes to the basement and finds his father. His father is shocked to see his son from the future. David explains to him that the machine is not worth it as there's no point in second chances. His father is proud of David and leaves before saying goodbye to him and his younger self. David records the last moments of him in the past and him burning the time machine. In the present, Christina is recording her brother in the attic where he is figuring out ways to get more scholarship. She finds a video camera that contains every footage of the group finding the time machine up until the moment it is burned by David. At school, while discussing the footage, David goes up to Jessie for the first time and tells her that they are about to change the world.